today. Welcome back to the stream. Another week, and we got another great topic today. Today we're actually discussing different digital audio workstations. Specifically, I wanted to go into digital audio workstations that beginners can use, things that you can get started with, but then things that you can eventually either work up towards, or maybe things that you can also kind of add to your repertoire as you move forward. I started on FL Studio in 2016, and that's what I've used for my whole journey so far for the last 8 years is just FL Studio. I initially had FL Studio 12, and then now I have 20. They're on like 24 now. I actually just got an email today from ImageLine saying that the 24th version is out. So I don't know if I'll update to that or upgrade to that, but that is something that I've used for my entire journey, like I said. So, sometimes you get tools that you work with for a little bit and then you end up, switching maybe to something else. For me, it's just been like if it's not broke, don't fix it type of mentality. Because I've learned a lot of the ins and outs of that program, and I just feel comfortable on it. So I think, if you are able to learn something and it works for you and the way you make music, that's what you should aim for. So I decided to kind of take a deeper dive into that today and really give you guys some different options as it stands in 2024 going into 2025. So I was able to find a few articles, and I'm going to highlight primarily this article from Music Radar that's called The Best DAWs 2024, The Best Digital Audio Workstations for both PC and Mac. And again, this is primarily for producers, but it's also for people that want to record themselves, have like some type of home studio setup. You use a DAW to record yourself. I actually just had an artist that I have produced for, who I've been working with the last couple years, and she messaged me and asked, what did she need as far as like headphones and studio monitors, and she's been trying to do that whole thing because she doesn't produce, but she wants to be able to record herself more often, because a lot of people are realizing, and this is really what I've noticed since the pandemic, a lot of people are realizing that studio time is very costly, and it can save you both time and money to be able to record yourself and have your own type of home studio setup. And it's not always a permanent solution. I mean, there's people that enjoy going to the studio and having, that full treated environment, things of that nature. But I think it helps to have the ability to record yourself, because not only will you learn some of the tools and tricks that the engineer and the producer know, but you'll also just have that convenience of being able to wake up every day and say, I want to record a demo today, or I want to lay down these backing vocals to this track I've been working on. So to me, it's always a good thing. I always kind of encourage, especially like newer artists. I've had conversations with a lot of, artists they're all at different stages, but a lot of different artists that, they either don't know how, or they just, don't have the tools, or they don't know the tools. So hopefully something like this can kind of help steer someone in the right direction, at least how to get started, because all you really need is a laptop to get it going. So let's read this introduction here. It says, if you're going to start recording your own music, you'll need to pair up your audio interface studio monitors and studio headphones with one of the best DAWs. A DAW, short for Digital Audio Workstation, is where your recordings and arrangements come to life. Choosing the right one for you is a very personal decision. There's a lot of choices nowadays, whether you're producing entirely in the box with a MIDI controller or recording a full band. Many DAWs share a similar workflow, so typically once you're well versed in one, you'll be able to pick up another very quickly. It's part of what makes using a DAW such a unique and personal choice, as your favorite will be the one that allows you to turn your ideas into songs the quickest and the most fun way. There's a huge selection of DAWs in this guide, so there's no doubt one of these will be your perfect match. We've arranged our favorites by use case to make things a little easier for you, and the majority have full reviews attached if you want to take a deeper dive. If you still find yourself with some questions, check out our frequently asked questions section. So I'm going to go over the quick list because there's some detailed explanations of all these, but I don't want to make this like a super long one today. So I'm going to go over the quick list, and it's kind of a brief description of each one. I'll kind of give like some of my notes as far as my knowledge of each one, or just like my opinion to an extent. I'll probably have the most to say about FL Studio because that's the one I use, like I said. But all of these, from what I could tell, are all ones that are pretty well trusted. So they give 6 total, and like they said in that introduction, they give the 6 that are categorized as far as like which one is best for certain individuals. So this is just their opinion. This isn't a fact. This is just the opinion of the people that made the list. So keep that in mind. But and I'll kind of go over later what's in the other articles that I found too, because they're all slightly different and they all give a slightly different take on like which ones are better. But we'll get into it here. So best electronic. So this is for EDM producers. I don't know, you make dance music, you make dubstep, you make house, anything in that type of realm. They say Ableton Live is the best one. Probably the most impactful software of the past 20 or so years, Ableton Live completely changed how musicians create, particularly in the electronic space. Its unique workflow takes some getting used to if you've used other DAWs, but it's unmatched when it comes to sound design. So I've never actually used Ableton Live, although it is definitely one of the most popular ones, and a lot of producers and engineers use it. I know a lot of engineers use it for mixing purposes, because there's a lot of different ways that you can, like it says about sound design, like that is a super vital thing for engineers to have when they're mixing and mastering tracks. So it's a big thing for engineers to be able to have that and use that. And I know a lot of engineers, including my engineer Isaac, he uses Ableton Live, I believe, as well, or he might use Logic Pro. I'm not sure. It's one of the two. He might even switch back and forth between both. But a few engineers I've worked with too have used Ableton Live, and they just say that it's got a lot of capabilities with the tools. So that is a big thing that they like, and being able to add in different effects plugins and all kinds of different tools to just make songs sound more crisp and really make the workflow easier. But it sounds like for electronic producers, it's a great thing to have because of the capabilities of it. And I believe that it is compatible on both Mac and PC, and that was always like the big selling point for the longest time, because other DAWs didn't always have Mac capabilities, like FL Studio, which we'll get into here in a second. FL Studio for a long time did not have Mac capabilities. It was only PC. So a lot of people were like, well, why would I get FL if I could just have Ableton on my laptop already if I have a MacBook? You know what I mean? So that was a big thing. Like I said, I don't make electronic music, but I know that that genre specifically has a ton of different things going on in each song. There's, a bunch of low pass filters, there's huge bass lines, use of distortion, there's things dropping in and dropping out at crazy times. You're working with very weird BPMs, you're trying to blend sounds that usually don't go together. And each song has a minimum of 20 tracks, right? Because there's just so much going on in each song. So I can't relate to electronic production because I don't have any experience with it. But just from my knowledge of the genre, there's just a ton going on. And Ableton Live, to me, definitely has the bandwidth and just the capability to withstand all of that happening at once. So I'd say whether you're an engineer or a producer, if you're doing EDM, yeah, definitely give it a look. It's probably, I would consider it the most popular one other than Pro Tools, as far as like industry standard, what people know. From what I know though, it is pretty hard to learn. Like it's definitely not a beginner one. So I don't know if I'd say that would be one that I would go for. To me, it's for people that are more seasoned in production, maybe one of the ones you want to work up to, like maybe your second or even third option. Like if you've been doing it for, let's say, maybe 5 years and you feel good about where you're at with your current audio workstation, maybe you want to go get Ableton Live, or maybe you have been producing for a while, you're good at it on a certain one, but now you want to start mixing a little bit. You want to start mixing your tracks better. Maybe you want to learn Ableton Live for the mixing aspect. Like maybe you produce in Logic Pro and now you're gonna mix in Ableton because you just think it's easier. So something like that, in my opinion, is like the route that you would want to go. Probably not something you would want to start out with immediately though, because like I said, it seems like, from what I know, it's pretty advanced compared to some of the other ones. So next up, they have the best for beginners, and they have FL Studio listed as best for beginners. And it's funny because I started out with FL Studio. A lot of the producers that I was a fan of growing up in high school, when I was studying music production, they used FL Studio. Boy Wonder, Hit Boy, a lot of different people, even Ninth Wonder used FL Studio. So I was just like infatuated with that. DAW was like the first one I really knew about, studied, and because some of my favorite producers used it, I kind of just fell naturally into wanting to use it. It says calling FL Studio the best beginner DAW definitely undersells it, but the reason it's great for beginners is down to its ease of use. The step sequencer works brilliantly for beat makers, and it delivers an intuitive experience that's easy for anyone to get on top of, even if you don't play an instrument already. And this DAW is definitely synonymous with hip hop, because a lot of the producers that used it from the very beginning, which was like 2003, or I think it technically got started in like 98 or 97. But a lot of people like the early 2000s up until the 2010s started using it in hip hop. So it kind of became synonymous with those sorts of genres like hip hop and R&B. People like Metro Boomin use it nowadays, and Drumma Boy I think used it. A ton of the big hip hop producers have used it. And like I said, because I was like a hip hop fan, naturally a lot of the producers I was listening to were making tutorials about it, and they were making different videos talking about why they used FL Studio. So that's kind of what led me to it. And from someone that uses it, I can definitely attest to that if you're a beginner, it's definitely very easy to learn. It's still not super easy because there is a lot of complex language involved with learning any of these things, because it's pretty daunting. Like even looking at the interface, it's pretty daunting, but I'd say it's less daunting than looking at the Ableton Live interface, for example. They kind of simplify the way it looks for people that have never seen anything like it. And that's kind of how I felt in the beginning. And what I would do in the beginning is I would watch a lot of YouTube tutorials. And there's one channel in particular called Busyworks Beats. And this guy specifically specializes in FL Studio tutorials. So he'll do, remake beats, or show you how to make a tight beat of a certain artist, show you effects, like how to add effects in. I remember the big thing I learned from him was sample chopping and using the plugin called SliceX, which if you've seen any of my videos, my behind the beat videos, I use SliceX in almost every beat in some type of way. Usually it's for the samples, because it's just very easy to manipulate sound that way, do the chops, pitch correct things, do all that sort of thing. SliceX is just the one I've always gone to, and he would show you other things like sampling in Edison and all kinds of things. But I remember I would watch his videos like all of 2016, or the majority of 2016, all of 2017, and I would just kind of learn from what he was doing and just kind of apply it to my own way of doing things. But I always felt like the ease of access for FL Studio was just pretty nice. You know what I mean? Like they really keep it clean. I love the way it looks. I love the way how you can color coordinate sounds. Like if you're someone that is very locked in on, which we've talked about this in a past stream about color coordination and how colors go with sounds. FL Studio allows you to do that pretty well, like change each color of each sound. I don't do that per se, but I know for a lot of people that helps. And that was a big thing that a lot of tutorials I watched would tell you, is like you can really kind of lay it out exactly how you want, depending on how you create. And that's a big thing that I think ImageLine has always done for their customers, is make it just super easy to use and make it feel like a very home experience. Like you feel comfortable creating in FL Studio, which is super nice. Like I said, I haven't used every single version. I started off on 12, ended up technically I started off on 10 because on my parents' computer, I remember I downloaded like the free version of like FL10. This was probably like 2014, 13, and I used to like mess with the little drum sample thing. Didn't even make a beat, just like was messing with the snare and kick on there. Ended up getting FL12 on my first laptop. My current laptop has FL20, and like I said at the beginning, they're on 24 now, so it's crazy. I mean, they're still going strong. But yeah, I mean, FL Studio for me, it's just been super convenient. Been able to stick with it and continue learning different tricks and little tools within the program. And I would not consider myself an expert by any means. I think I'm pretty good. I'm good enough to kind of show you around the DAW if I had to, but I'm not like gonna give a master class on it because I myself still am learning, and I still don't use as many features as a lot of people use on it. I feel like I only use it probably to maybe even half of its capabilities. Like it has so many capabilities, and I feel like I only use it to maybe like 45 to 50% of the capabilities that it has. So, I mean, obviously my biased opinion would be definitely look into FL if you're, I'd say if you're looking to do what I did, which is make hip-hop production or R&B production. You make beats that are relatively simple. They're not super complex. Although if you do complex music, I'm not saying you can't do that in FL Studio, because you can, but maybe you want to look at something more advanced for that, like Ableton, because there's just a lot more going on in Ableton. But if you want a clean interface, you just want to make good beats and maybe record some vocals here and there, take a look at it. I wouldn't recommend it if you're an engineer personally, because there's not a lot going on in the mixer. The mixer is very plain and simple. But if you're a producer, if you make beats, definitely check it out. And I'm just going to keep going with it because to me it's the best one I've seen, and I'm just so used to it at this point, I might as well keep going. So Team FL all the way. Next up we have Avid Pro Tools, and they have this listed as the best for bands. So that's interesting, and I guess that makes sense. I mean, if you think of rock bands nowadays, like everybody still has to record in a DAW nowadays because you're doing a lot of different ways of mixing compared to how you used to do back in the day. There's no more consoles or anything like that. Everything is done in the box. So even if you're recording live instruments, things of that nature, you're going to be dumping them into something like Pro Tools and then mixing from there each individual sound. It says Pro Tools has a lot of haters online, but ultimately it is still the industry standard DAW for the recording industry. If you want to record bands or work in professional studios, this is the DAW you will need to learn. Recent updates have made it much more usable for home recording, and it has a huge amount of depth. I don't know what online hate it gets, so maybe I'm out of touch in that realm. But apparently it gets haters. I don't understand that. Maybe it's because I don't use it, but I've never really heard that personally. But yeah, I mean, Pro Tools is it's like a staple in the whole realm of audio workstations. because it's a very popular one, you know what I mean? And it's another one that's compatible with both. I think it always has been compatible with PC and Mac, so automatically people like gravitated towards it. And it's another one that you always hear engineers using. I can't tell you how many interviews I've done on podcasts where people talk about Pro Tools sessions and, you know, just using that workstation in general. I always thought the workstation itself looked very clean, because I know some producers that have done behind the beat videos with Pro Tools. I always thought it looked very like clean and nice. You know, I can't really speak to the way that you create in there because I'm not really familiar with it. But to me, it's definitely more of an engineer's plugin than a producer's plugin. But it sounds like if you're a band, you know, maybe it's recommended to handle mixing all the different instruments that are involved, and all the different parts that are involved, as opposed to FL Studio, where it's pretty simple, where you're probably just the producer sampling, putting things in. You're not really doing a ton of live instrumentation, but you're able to do input through your audio interface into Pro Tools, whether it's vocals or instruments, and just kind of, you know, get it sounding more full and on point, as opposed to just the live recordings. So, I mean, Pro Tools is the one you're going to hear probably the most, in my opinion, just because it's super popular. So, yeah, I mean, take a look at it. I can't really speak on if it's good for beginners or not. Maybe if you are in a group, though, it sounds like that's kind of the way to go. And if you have a designated engineer, maybe they use Pro Tools, or maybe you can have someone kind of show you the ropes of it. But like I said about what I was doing with FL Studio, just watching tutorials, like that's a big thing. Just watch tutorials and see what you can find online, because a lot of people can break stuff down in a super intricate way, and there's people that just do some crazy things with the tools they're given. So I would look for Pro Tools, like tutorials, breakdowns online, see what you can find. Next up, we have Apple Logic Pro. I know, again, I think my engineer, I think this is what he uses. I think I was wrong about the first one, because I said that he used Ableton Live. Pretty sure he uses Logic, and this is Apple's actual DAW for Mac, official Apple licensed product. And this is one that I have a little bit of experience with, having took a music production course in college. We did a little bit of work in Logic Pro when we were using the Apple computers. Every other time we were using, what were we using? Audacity, I think, was the other one, which is super like dated. It's a much older program. But I think we used Logic Pro a little bit, or maybe we studied Logic Pro. We did something with Logic Pro, but I still wouldn't consider myself someone that knows the platform very well. It says 2024 has seen some huge updates for Logic Pro, including the addition of AI-powered session musicians who can lay down takes for your track and a built-in stem splitter. It remains one of the most complete DAWs on the market, perfect for those who are already embedded in the Mac OS and ecosystem. The AI thing definitely sounds like an Apple move for sure, because they're, you know, any type of big tech company is going to be experimenting with the AI stuff. So I didn't actually know that was a thing, but I assume that if that is popular, they're going to keep rolling with different AI related tools. I don't know if FL Studio or ImageLine has been working on anything like that. They might already have something like that too, but I think that's you're just gonna see that continue to pop up. So I don't know about that, but you know, if that's your thing, check that out. I'd say the only way I'd recommend this to you directly is if you have a MacBook, or you've been on Mac your whole life, computer wise. The ease of access for Logic Pro is going to be right there, because you're going to be able to get it immediately, and because everything's set up through Apple already, most likely you're just going to be able to buy it through your Apple ID and just set it up and you'll be good to go. If you have a PC, though, I don't think there is any capabilities with PC for obvious reasons, because it's an Apple product. They want you to use their products on their products. So I don't think you're ever going to see Logic Pro being put on PC. Maybe there's some type of weird leaked cracked version out there. Probably wouldn't recommend it because it sounds like it would fuck up your PC. So probably don't do that. I would just steer away from it. But if you have a MacBook Pro, whatever they're making these days, just check that out. I mean, I'd say just the ease of access alone will be nice, because you'll be able to get it probably set up in due time. And again, I don't really know a lot about it. It seems very bare bones. It doesn't seem like super advanced, because it's developed by a company that they have some experience in the music industry. They have some experience with the tech, but I don't think they're having like super in-depth conversations about like the ins and outs of what everybody uses for a digital audio workstation. And almost feel like that's why we in that college course, I feel like that's why we had a lot of hands-on with that DAW, because the ease of access is there, and it's just very bare bones. It's very simple, dumbed down, if you will. And Audacity was the same way. It's like the most basic layout you could ever think of. So, but again, a lot of people use Logic Pro, so I can't knock it. Definitely not knocking it. It has always seemed more like one that you would mix in and arrange in. Not so much production, but you can do production too if you want. So go ahead and take a look at that. Next up, we have the best budget, so the cheapest. And this is Reaper. I've heard of Reaper. I don't know anybody that uses it. I think it's similar to Audacity, though. It's one that's been around for a while. It says Reaper is a remarkably affordable cross-platform DAW that has a tiny footprint and sophisticated MIDI audio routing capabilities. What's more, it's wonderfully responsive, with everything from scrolling and zooming to fader moves and item editing, feeling quick and fluid. So I can't really speak on this one. I've heard of Reaper, don't really know anybody that uses it. I feel like I might have heard some producers in the past that have made beats on this platform, but I've never seen a tutorial about it. I don't really know anything about it, but from what I'm reading here, it sounds like it's pretty affordable. So for the starters, for the beginners, kind of similar to FL Studio. If you want to take a look at it, go ahead. I don't really have much else to add about that. I have heard of it though, so it's kind of interesting that they mention it. I guess they could have technically mentioned Audacity too, because Audacity has a good free version that you can use, kind of like FL Studio has. We can just download it and make things, and I don't think you can. You might be able to export, like save projects, but it's more for just kind of messing around and seeing, how it feels. Like get the feel of it, get the feel for creating with it, and then go from there. And Reaper might have some type of similar free version as well. A lot of these DAWs have free versions, but they limit your capabilities because they want you to eventually invest in the full thing. So for FL Studio, like I said, you can create, but you can't save projects. So it's just like go in, mess around, and that's it. You know what I mean? Because they want you to get that full version eventually. But that is the best budget one, according to these guys. And the final one is the best for iPad. I actually know my buddy D. from Dallas, who hosts the Major Music Lounge podcast. He does a lot of iPad beats. Like he makes beats on his iPad all the time. He has a ton of videos about him. I don't know if they're beat breakdowns, but he has videos of him making beats on his Instagram, on his YouTube, on the iPad. Like he still makes stuff on the laptop, but he makes stuff on iPad all the time. And I think he uses a different application, but they're talking about Logic Pro, which again is the same one we just covered, but it's for iPad. And that's maybe that's another upside of Logic Pro, is that even if you don't have a MacBook, if you have an iPad, you can still use Logic Pro. The beat making on different devices is kind of weird to me. I've never been able to do it because I don't have an iPad, and I remember trying to download FL Studio for mobile, and it takes up so much space that I could never download it. Like, even if I was to clear out my phone, a lot of applications, I can't download it. Like, that's how much storage space it takes up. So I've never been able to create on mobile. But I know that there's people that like to do different things. You know, they might not always like to create on the laptop, and sometimes they can't because they're on the go, and they need something that's a lot more convenient to pull out of their pocket or pull out of their bag. I don't know if Logic Pro is on the iPhone. I assume it is, though, because if there's an FL Studio version that ImageLine did, I can only assume that there's a version of Logic Pro for iPhone as well. So if that's, you know, something you like to do, if you like to create on the go, all I know is that no matter what DAW you're dealing with, it's going to be slightly different on a smaller device, whether it is iPad or iPhone or whatever you use, because they have to condense it down to fit the device. So just keep that in mind. You know, it's going to be a pretty different experience trying to produce something on your phone than it is on a laptop, because the capabilities are different, and just the layout and the design and the functionality is going to be different. So I think it's no different with that, with trying to do things on iPad. But like I said, my buddy D-Dot is the first person that came to mind, because I know he's always posting his videos of him producing on the iPad, and from what I can tell, he kind of prefers the iPad a little bit, like, over everything else, because he can kind of, you know, touch it more, kind of like an MPC, like a in-depth MPC. You can even pull it up and kind of do the drum machine and all that stuff. So, you know, it just depends on your style. For me, I've never really had the need to even try to do that, because I just like doing it the old-fashioned way. Well, I call it the old-fashioned way. Depends on who you're talking to is going to call it the old-fashioned way, but yeah, that's it's something that a lot of people do, though. So if that's something you want to take a look at, definitely go ahead. That's all they had listed right there, and then they go in depth on all 6 of those. So if you see the article, they actually have different websites where you can buy these at, and different deals that you can get, so you can get some money off of whichever DAW you want to choose. So it gives you, they call it today's best deal. So you'll be able to check them out, kind of price these out a little bit. I'm not going to go into every single price point. I'll let you guys kind of handle that whole thing. That is the article by Music Radar. And that's the one I think that was best to go over, but I'm going to leave a couple more in the YouTube replay description. One is by PC Mag. It goes into, again, a list for 2024, so it's a pretty updated list. I believe that one was published in April, so it's fairly new. It's still under a year old, so nothing is really going to be changed by the time you watch it. And I don't really see any other DAW taking off in the next year, personally. There might be, you never know, but it's going to be pretty up to date. And then the final one is by Lander, and excuse me, and it's called the top 10 best DAWs for music production in 2024. Again, they have a lot of similar ones, but obviously they have a few more as well. So I would just kind of weigh your options, like look at all these combined, kind of find some more as well, and just see what works best for you. What do you think is going to be best for you? The biggest recommendation I would give you is to try a free version of whatever you're doing. Get the feel of it. Like I said, just mess around. Even if you don't know what you're doing, just mess around. Go in the drum pattern and just start messing with things and start clicking around. Just mess things up. It doesn't matter, because you want to kind of have a good feeling about what it is before you purchase. And I'd say give it a month or two, maybe even give it a few months. Just mess around in there. And the more you start feeling comfortable with it, if you start laying down some actual chords or something, or you get some drum patterns that feel good, you're watching tutorials, you're trying to learn, doing all these things, then you can say okay, I can make the investment now because I know that I'm going to stick with this and it feels good. I think the good thing about all of these is that they're all relatively affordable. Like from what I know, none of them are super expensive. And I think I don't want to say all of them, majority of them are one-time only purchases and then you're done. They're not subscription-based services. They're not something you pay for every month, like a Photoshop, like how, Adobe does their pricing system. Like a lot of these DAWs are not like that at all. It's a one-time fee, you pay, and it's yours forever, which is how I hope it stays. I hope none of these people go to subscription-based services because I think it's awful. I love being able to just pay for plugins when I want to, and that's it. I have the program for life. I love that. I really hope it stays that way. I honestly don't know if it will, because a lot of these companies, tech companies, are making all their programs subscription-based. It kind of sucks. I understand they have to make money, but man, it's unfortunate. But I think the good thing for music creators at this time is that a lot of these services are one and dones, and that is great. So if you can afford, $200 to $300 or a little bit more just to get your foot in the door, you just need a laptop. You're good to go. You're good to start doing it. And I think just finding something that works for you, sticking with it, being patient is a big thing. All the things that I would tell anybody about doing anything. But I hope this is able to help you if you are a producer looking to start out, looking to get, your foot in the door. I said that already. But if you're looking to get started, if you're looking to get things rolling, I hope this helps. You know what I mean? And check out those articles, weigh your options, and reach out to me directly if you have any questions, especially like FL Studio questions or any other type of question. Send me an email. My email is in the description, or go to my social media, send me a message, or even comment on the YouTube replay on the video and just say, ask whatever questions you got. And even if I don't know, I'll try to give you like a resource to help you out, to say like, here's who can help you, or here's something that might help, because I just like to do that for people. So yeah, that was pretty much it. I mean, that was about as in-depth as I'm willing to go at this time before my voice gives out. But next week we're going to be back on another Tuesday, December 10th. We're going to be talking about holidays for independent artists. It is almost Christmas. We're just past Thanksgiving, but it's almost Christmas, almost New Year's. And I want to do a little kind of in-depth breakdown about how do you deal with the holidays being an artist as well, specifically an independent artist, like trying to juggle time with your family, traveling, buying gifts, mixed with you're trying to get ready for the new year. You got releases coming up, you got a budget, for marketing, XYZ. Some of you probably know what I'm talking about. It'll probably make a lot more sense next week. I'm going to try to get like a nice little format going and just kind of figure out like how I could structure it. It's going to be kind of weird. I don't know how much research there'll be about this, but it might just be me rambling, just kind of giving my own take on it. So I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be cool. But thank you guys again for watching. This was a pretty lengthy one, almost 40 minutes now. But yeah, I hope this helps producers, engineers, even artists out there kind of get things going. So we'll see you next week, next Tuesday. And as always, thank you guys. Hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. And yeah, have a great rest of the week. See you on the 10th. So have a good one, guys.